they used, but he was on that canvas, I counted, for at least 2 to 3 minutes. And when he sat up, they put the stool near him, and he couldn't even gather himself together to get up on the stool. This brother was put to sleep in a way that you only see that happen to people that take Ambien. It was that bad. And you know, I'm not going to be like other people in the NBA where you know, folks were joking around. I thought he was really, really hurt. I was scared for him when he didn't move, and he got KO'd like that. And you know, it was just something sad to see. Jake Paul clearly had more experience, clearly had more skill. He was the bigger, heavier fighter on top of that. Plus, he was the better boxer. And literally, Nate came in with his face. And so I thank God he's all right. And major props to him for, you know, joining the chat room. I heard he joined the chat room and was just taking the criticism like a man. I got a lot of love for the kid. Ain't nothing to laugh about. It was scary, to be quite honest with you. And it just goes to show what Snoop Dogg and all of them was saying, because I thought Snoop Dogg was absolutely fabulous calling the fight. He said, you don't play, you know this better than me, Max. You don't play boxing. You don't play boxing when you get in that ring. You either know what you're doing or you stay the hell out of there.
Nate is super athletic and scrappy, but a lot of people who like fight and think if they fought in the street and they had any success there or fought in a locker room or wherever, that they're going to get in a boxing ring without being trained. No, Jake Paul had muscle memory because Jake Paul is taking his fighting seriously over the last couple of years and is really putting in the work, and it's showing. His muscle memory is just better than Nate's was, right? And so, okay, that's what happens in boxing. The biggest story was Mike Tyson and Roy Jones. That was the best version of what that fight could have been. They came in shape, Tyson especially. And the funny thing is about Roy, Stephen A., is at his best, he was a better pound-for-pound fighter than Mike, even though Mike at his best, probably the best pound-for-pound in the world, too. But Roy was best pound-for-pound for almost like a decade. He was amazing. At his best, he's the best I've seen in my lifetime. But his style was based on an overwhelming speed advantage. Mike Tyson's style was based on overcoming a big height deficit and reach deficit as a heavyweight. So while Jones was considered the quote-unquote boxer in this fight, no, Jones is the athlete who needs to start feeling it, fight off a rhythm to get going. Mike is the more technical fighter, always was, and he showed it in this fight. But right around the third or fourth round, it's like, damn, Roy's got nothing for Mike. Mike is too strong. Roy even said it after the fight. You saw those body shots really hurting Roy. And I saw a look in Roy's face, and Roy is a friend of mine, like a genuine friend of mine, and I worked with him for years. And so, like, I'm like, Roy, don't go out like this, you know, and I don't want to see him get hurt. And Stephen A., it looked to me, he was huffing and puffing, feeling the body shots. It looked to me like Roy said, hell no, I'm not going out like this, and rejuvenated himself and made it a fight. Whether or not it was a draw, it's something else, but Roy made it competitive. He refused to just get run over. And because of that, and because no one got hurt, I was highly entertained in the end. I thought that was the best version of what that fight might have been. And I wouldn't mind seeing Mike do it again, provided you match him right. Another old guy, another small guy, not a big young guy.
I was very relieved that Roy didn't get hurt because it's not, you know, listen, Tyson obviously isn't what he's 54 years old. And you know what? It was good to see him in the shape that he was in. Obviously, he's 54 years old, so you weren't going to see the same Mike. But I was scared for Roy's life because of how I'd seen Roy get knocked out in previous years. So I'm thinking there's some damage there. And if he gets caught right, it could be, well, Nate Robinson. Well, it turns out that did not happen to Roy. So I was very, very relieved about that. But
and Roy got caught a couple times, Steve.
But I know that. But if he had just gotten hurt, Max, and wobbled, I'm talking about Nate Robinson here. If he had just got hurt, wobbled, TKO, that would be different. But to go out the way he went out, listen, that's what everybody's talking about because of the way he went out. I mean, literally, it's very, very rare that you see somebody literally put to sleep. And that's what happened.
If you get in the ring, it's a brave thing because especially on TV and you're a famous person, you might get put to sleep, snoring and everything out. That's the risk you take in boxing. And by the way, worse things than that can happen. but that's why it requires bravery, right? Courage. Nate was brave and courageous and maybe crazy because he was not prepared for a guy who was really taking fighting seriously the last couple of years.
But, Max, what I'm saying is in hindsight, I totally get you. But for those 2 minutes that he was laying there, not moving, were you not scared? I was.
Yeah, and he also, the first knockdown, he was caught kind of behind the ear in the back of the head. It's a dangerous shot.
Yeah, no question. I was just grateful to have something good to watch Saturday night. Not getting out the house much lately. None of us are. We will leave it there when we come back here. We're finally going to... Yes, that as well, Stephen A. Yes, tongue in cheek there. Obviously, health is first. We're talking Pats. At this point, is Cam just a guy? Let the fellas tell you this after the break.
Understand that. But if you remember back at that time when they had elected to start him the very next game, I think it was against Indy, if I remember correctly. What I said then is what still holds true now. I said Nick Foles coming into a game late in the season and saving the day is different. When you ask him to be that guy, damn near from jump start, which means pretty early in the season, what you're going to do is jeopardize him. He's not going to have the durability necessary. He's going to get himself hurt. And in the meantime, you're going to just completely, Mitchell Trubisky's confidence is going to be shot. You're not going to be able to recover from this. And lo and behold, what has happened? Nick Foles proceeds to lose 5 of the next 7 games. He ultimately gets hurt. Mitchell Trubisky has to come back in. And yesterday, he looked like he had absolutely no confidence whatsoever. No, he doesn't make the greatest decisions, and he damn sure ain't the greatest passer. And we understand that, but we also know that we saw better things from him when he was moving those wheels, when he was running with the football. And the reason why I hold Matt Nagy so accountable for that, Matt Nagy was not just a quality control coach. He was a quarterbacks coach in Kansas City. He was a quality control coach and an assistant in Philadelphia. He goes to Kansas City for 4 years. He's the quarterbacks coach before he's the offensive coordinator in 2017. And then he gets the head coaching job with the Chicago Bears. Not only is offense supposed to be your thing, quarterbacks are supposed to be your thing. And somehow, some way, you've had ample time to at least put Mitchell Trubisky in a forward direction and have him looking better. And that has not been the case. So I think that he did ruin it with this move, and I think it's unfortunate. I'm not saying he should be fired or anything, because this would be his first losing season if he were to have it. But I'm not high on the job that he has done this year with the Chicago Bears at all, or the job that he has done with Mitchell Trubisky, Max, period.
Nagy's move is not what cost the Bears their season. It ruined the Bears' season. 2 things ruined the Bears' season. The Bears' offensive line is 1, and the schedule was 2. Let's go through this, Stephen A. Bears beat the Lions week 1. Bad team. The Giants, who back then especially weren't playing as well as they're playing recently, bad team. That's 2 wins. As you said, Foles had to come in to get by the Falcons. Also, not a good team. These are all teams with losing records. And then Foles continues, and now they're playing the Colts. Colts are a very good team, and the Bears lose. But Foles helps them beat the Bucs, the heavily favored Bucs, in the game that Brady forgot the downs. Foles threw the pass his team needed him to throw to get to field goal range. They kicked the field goal, they go ahead. Brady failed to do the same thing, right? Okay, the first time they met since Foles beat him in the Super Bowl. Now the next game, the Panthers. What happens? The Bears win. The Panthers, not a very good team. So far, whether the quarterback is Trubisky or Foles, they beat the bad teams, and they have 1 win against a good team, authored by Nick Foles, okay? Now what happens? They play the Rams. They got pushed all around up front. They lost. Then the Saints. They lost by a field goal. Then the Titans. These are all excellent teams. And they lost. By the way, they were close competitive games, but they lost. No offensive line. Foles couldn't overcome it. Neither could Trubisky. I don't think it would have mattered who was quarterback, but Foles at least gave them a better chance. Then Foles got hurt in the Vikings game, which they lost. And now we see Trubisky against the Packers lost just like Foles would have lost to the Packers. So without an offensive line, they weren't going to be very good. They have an awful offensive line. They weren't going to be very good. But what looked early like maybe they're better than they were was schedule. The only quarterback between the two to beat a good team was Nick Foles. He still gave them their best chance to win, even though he wasn't mobile and it was a bad line.